Spider-Man is one of the characters who helped alter the idea of what it meant to be a superhero. Stan Lee, the editor-in-chief and primary writer for Marvel Comics, came up with the concept of combining the skills of a human with those of a spider, and gave birth to the legendary character, Spider-Man, in 1962. Since that time, the legend of Spider-Man has continued on, and there are a large number of characters that are connected to him. Marvel reveals Spider-Man's last flight. In one of the stories that are included inside Amazing Fantasy number 1000, Peter Parker, who is now 60 years old, sustains a terrible injury that forces him to reassess the guiding principles that he has used throughout his life. The assailant was responsible for his injuries. In the tale titled Spider-Man vs. His Sinister 60th, which was written by Dan Slott and co-authored by Jim Cheung. Jim Cheung also served as the story's penciler and inker. J. David Ramos was responsible for the coloring of the story, while Joe Sabino from VC was the story's letterer. In spite of the fact that he is not as supple as he once was, Spider-Man engages in a battle against a younger version of the Vulture and swings all over New York City in an effort to see Mary Jane before his birthday. In a turn of events that might have been avoided, Spider-Man has an unfortunate accidental encounter with a gangster, which leads to him being assaulted and badly wounded in a back alley. The doctors and nurses working at the hospital are on the opinion that he will most likely pass away as a result of his injuries. While he is being treated for his wounds in the hospital, Peter Parker thinks about his injuries. He mulls on the manner in which he had always expected to meet his end, whether it be at the hands of the Sinister Six or some other great villains such as Carnage. Instead, it seems like bullets fired by an assailant have put an end to his life, and the whole event has a tone that is almost poetic, as if he is going out like Uncle Ben. However, despite the injuries he's endured and the fact that he is getting on in years, Spider-Man still has the reliable healing abilities he always had. In a short period of time, a procession of New Yorkers form a crowd encircling the hospital in order to pay a visit to the web-slinger who has aided them several times. Their intention is to express their gratitude for the assistance they have received from Spider-Man. The argumentative nature of Peter and Mary Jane's relationship is reflected on the last scene of the chapter, which takes place in their home. On the very final page, Spider-Man prevents yet another robbery by springing out of his hospital bed while completely undressed and exposing his privates to the world. In what other kinds of stories does Spider-Man appear in his Twilight years? In the past, Spider-Man has had trouble dealing with the effects of aging. The most recent example of this can be seen in the limited edition series named Spider-Man Life Story, which was authored by Chip Zdarsky. This series envisioned what could happen if Peter matured in real time, starting with his debut in the 1960s and going into the 2010s. Peter's death at the age of 72 brought an end to the saga, and Miles Morales' determination to carry on Peter's legacy marked the beginning of the next chapter. Amazing Fantasy number 1000 is a gigantic comic book that commemorates Spider History Man that spans 60 years. Amazing Fantasy number 15 was the comic book that had Spider Debut Man's appearance. This issue was released in 1962. Short stories written by a wide variety of Spider-Man authors, including Anthony Falcone, Michael Cho, Armando Iannucci, Ryan Stegman, and others, have been collected in this book. The end of Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy. Tom Holland's performance as the wall crawler will make its 6th appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. This is a sobering reality considering that Holland has been playing the part for more than 5 years at this point. As a result of this, the actor is claiming that the new movie, which is his 3rd solo feature picture, is being handled as if it were the last part of a thematically connected trilogy. In point of fact, recent statements made by the actor appear to convey an unexpected feeling of finality, which adds even more uncertainty to the forthcoming mystery movie about several universes. The long-awaited revelations from Spider-Man No Way Home's most recent trailer was most likely just the tip of the multiverse-twisting iceberg for the film. However, as the Solo franchise reaches a 3rd film benchmark that has proven to be critical for Marvel movies, thoughts about an endpoint are undoubtedly spinning. This is especially true considering that some Marvel Cinematic Universe Solo standards, like the Iron Man and Chris Evans' Captain America films, wrapped as trilogies, and Guardians of the Galaxy will also wrap as a trilogy. In a similar vein, Holland has publicly referred to No Way Home as a conclusion, telling Entertainment Weekly that the mood on set seemed like a widespread and melancholy case of senioritis. Holland teases and provokes the daring statement, "We were all approaching No Way Home as the conclusion of a series, let's say. I believe that if we were fortunate enough to dig into these characters once again, you would be witnessing a totally different version of them this time around. We would give it some time and then attempt to construct something unique while also attempting to alter the movie's tonal qualities. I am unable to say whether or not it will take place, but we were obviously approaching No Way Home as if it were nearing its conclusion, and it seemed like it did as well, Holland said. Although Holland has not said that he plans to permanently put up his Spider-Man outfit after the release of No Way Home, his remarks make it quite obvious that the solo starring efforts are a series of films that have the same tone. It is a classification that appears to be self-evident, with the films having gotten off to a good start with 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming, leading to a titular departure with the second solo effort, 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home, with Spider-Man No Way Home ultimately fulfilling a pattern that has been incrementally leading Spidey farther away from said home. What happened with Spider-Man? The concept of the Homecoming brand retiring with an introspective multiverse tale is comparable to the legendary, ambitious last episode of the popular Spider-Man animated series that aired from 1994 to 1998. Despite this, the idea of a trilogy is not brought up very often, maybe because the ball crawler has had a large presence in addition to appearing in the single movies. In point of fact, many people believe that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is still the celebrated figure conjured by the massive multi-studio deal that finally brought the Sony-held Marvel mascot into the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU) with a spectacular, shield-stealing debut in the film Captain America: Civil War in 2016. Furthermore, his predestined throws in 2018's Avengers: Infinity War stands as one of the comic book movie genre's most heartbreaking moments, and his return in 2019's Avengers: Endgame by way of an abrupt stuck landing was one of the biggest audience applause moments from what ultimately became the highest-grossing film of all time. Consequently, despite being the protagonist of the films that make up what is now known as the Homecoming Trilogy, Tom Holland's interpretation of Spider-Man was not entirely determined by those films. However, in Holland's mind, they stand out on their own, perhaps as character study collaborations with director John Watts for the tangential Avenger. Watts is the person whose experience as a teenager and simple, spider-powered costumed crime fighter in Brooklyn was blown up to exponentially significant global proportions when Tony Stark slid into Holland's life in Civil War. Holland is the person who plays Peter Parker, the tangential Avenger. What the future predicts. Although the conclusion of the Homecoming trilogy will not necessarily mark the end of Tom Holland's incarnation of Spider-Man, it does appear to be designed to mark the conclusion of a central dynamic that has existed between his main player peers, specifically with cast member Zendaya as love interest MJ and Jacob Batalon as comic relief best friend Ned Leeds. The Spider-Man film franchise has already been rebooted twice before the release of Homecoming, which brought the novel twist of choosing to focus on the youthful, prodigious, though unpretentious chemistry of that triumvirate. This resulted in the idea of their potential dissolution after No Way Home became the center of tear-jerking moments on the set as the production came to a close. According to Holland, we've been creating these videos for a total of 5 years at this point. All three of us have had such a wonderful connection over the years. Every single move we've made has been in tandem with one another, he said. Consequently, being able to experience that moment with them made for one of the most memorable days he has ever spent working. I don't believe I've ever sobbed that hard in my life, he said. While it is evident that we do not yet know what will happen in the three main films that make up the Homecoming trilogy, we do know that Spider-Man No Way Home will cross over into several universes. Furthermore, its cast and personnel are still trying to play down the strong notion of former Spider-Man stars Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield joining Holland to battle a bevy of returning other universe villains, including Tom Hardy's Venom, given a certain sequel's consequential post-credits scene. At the beginning of the first post-credits scene of Spider-Man No Way Home, Eddie Brock, who is portrayed by Tom Hardy and appears in this scene, is still striving to make sense of the new world he's in. However, before he and Venom can go talk to Spider-Man, they have swept away to their own world. When the procedure is finished, there is nevertheless always a trace amount of the Venom symbiote that is left behind. It is also plausible that Venom purposefully abandoned it so that he could later locate Spider-Man and have his revenge. As a result, there is a chance that the Marvel Cinematic Universe may debut a new version of Venom, or even better, their very own Black Spider-Man. Both of these possibilities are intriguing. Therefore, the conclusion of one era may usher at the beginning of another that is more exciting and mysterious than the one we are now living in. Click the like button if you'd like to see more videos just like the one you're watching now. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll be waiting for you in the next video.